This is the CEO interview series, which takes place before the conference, giving you, the attendees, the opportunity to get to know the companies and the people behind the companies who you will want to meet at the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. Today, I have the extraordinary pleasure of introducing a young friend, but a young friend of long standing, Amir Adnani, who I have done business with for 2 decades, practically since he was in diapers. Amir is CEO of Uranium Energy, a company that he founded, I suspect, almost 20 years ago, but we'll hear about that from him. Amir, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview, and thank you, too, for your continued sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium.
Rick, it's my great pleasure and very happy to be back with you and looking forward to this wonderful conference.
So you've been working 2 decades to be an overnight success in UEC. Tell us something about how you came into the uranium business and how you've grown this company to be, I would suggest, the preeminent domestic U.S. uranium company.
Well, Rick, I think when I sat down with you 20 years ago and had a business plan in hand for Uranium Energy, you told me to be patient, and you told me in our commodity business, we'll have cycles, and for every maybe 3 good years, we'll have 3 bad years. Well, it's 20 years into it with uranium, and we've had 3 good years and 17 bad years. But those bad years were remarkably productive for us. We were able at UEC to take maximum advantage of the bear market that pursued since 2011, to increase our total resource base by 10 times, and to really grow those resources in politically stable and mining-friendly jurisdictions. Today, Rick, I see the best macro setup I have ever seen in these 20 years. And when I talk to colleagues of mine that have been doing uranium and nuclear energy for twice as long as me, they say this is the best setup they have ever seen. And so the fundamentals are the best in terms of supporting higher uranium prices. We have geopolitical events. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is a game changer. And we have mega trends of electrification and decarbonization that drive acceptance of nuclear energy and nuclear energy growth that brings individuals like Bill Gates to our tent, brings companies like Dow Chemical to our tent, who now want to build small and advanced modular reactors in the United States. And so this is no longer just a China growth story. It's now a US growth story as well. And Rick, last weekend, it was crazy to watch Bill Gates on ABC News pounding the table about the need for domestic uranium sources and how we got to get off of our Russian dependency. Bill Gates sounded like the CEO of a junior uranium company on national television.
But you're not a bad promoter either, Amir. So put your promoter hat on and take us through UEC. Take us through the assets that are going to make us fabulously wealthy, we hope, in what I agree is probably the perfect setup for uranium.
The differentiating factor for UEC today really is in the quality of the assets that we have and the location of the assets and their proximity to production. First of all, UEC has the distinct ability to say that we as a company have mined uranium. We were a uranium producer in 2010. And due to the falling uranium prices, we put that production on hold in Texas in 2013. It's rare to find companies and management teams and CEOs that have actually produced uranium in previous cycles and entered this cycle with that proficiency. So not only is that experience, I think, key, but what we have seen, Rick, more than ever, a bifurcation in the market. There is a premium on US pounds. Just look at the fact that Department of Energy paid a 20% premium to companies like UEC just recently to purchase uranium for the government account. And when you consider 1 in every 5 homes in America is powered by nuclear and there's no domestic uranium mining, it's key to have assets in the United States. Our big advantage is that we're fully permitted. Permitting takes a long time in North America. We have fully permitted assets, infrastructure above ground, 2 processing plants, 7 fully permitted uranium mines, 100 million pounds of uranium resources in the ground that are fully permitted. That is the largest base of fully permitted resources in the United States. And so I really believe that It's the advanced nature of UEC's US assets that are truly producing and past producing that can be restarted. That's the value proposition to investors, combined with the next best jurisdiction to be in, which is Canada's Saskatchewan, Athabasca Basin. And this is the area what the Persian Gulf is to the oil and gas industry, Athabasca Basin is to the uranium industry. These are the highest grade deposits for conventional mining. And the assets we've acquired here, namely the Rough Rider deposit from Rio Tinto, these are world-class assets. Grades that range between 4 to 5% grade. The average grade of uranium in the world is 0.05%. So grade is king in conventional mining, and Athabasca has that in spades. UEC has flagship assets in Athabasca today. And Rick, what's fascinating is a decade ago, or over a decade ago, I recall talking to you, we were going into production in 2010. We had the same market cap as we do today. Pre-Fukushima, 2010, $70 uranium price, same market cap. Today, we have 320 million pounds of uranium in the ground. Decade ago, we had 30 million pounds of uranium in the ground. 10 times the resource, and the uranium price isn't at 70, but it's at 57, and it's going up every day. So I think the size and quality and location of UEC's assets and proximity to production on fully built and operational assets is really the key differentiator.
Can we talk a bit about both the Texas and the Wyoming assets in the context of in-situ recovery, rather than other forms of mining, which many of our attendees won't be familiar with, either in terms of its environmental impact or its lack of capital intensity?
In-situ recovery is the lowest cost way of recovering any mineral, except it doesn't really play an outsized role in other commodities. It plays an outsized role in uranium. Almost half of global production is using solution mining. That means there's no digging, there's no strip mining, there's no open pit, there's no underground, there's no earth moving. That's what reduces the capital cost and upfront capital significantly. And what we're doing is we're basically drilling water wells. Kazakhstan has become a single nation OPEC over the last 15 years, strictly with the use of in-situ recovery, and are the world's largest uranium producer. Luckily, this form of uranium recovery has a long-standing history in the US. Wyoming, as a jurisdiction outside of Kazakhstan, has produced more uranium using in-situ recovery than any other place. And so we're basically going back to what the US knows best, which is in-situ recovery, deposits that are situated in sandstone settings that could be recovered in solution. That's an alkaline-based solution. There's no acid being pumped in the ground. The environmental impact is negligible. The surface disturbance is zero. These projects have very low carbon intensity. And in a day and age where a low carbon intensity operation is also desirable, it checks all the boxes. So not only is it environmentally friendly and low cost, but it's also quick to bring these types of operations into production. And we have exactly this type of operation and technical know-how in Texas and Wyoming. And in Wyoming, where the largest of this type of assets existed, these operations used to be owned by Uranium One, which anyone who watched or has watched news and conservative media would know. Fox News covered this extensively. Uranium One was owned by the Russian government. And before the invasion of Ukraine, they ran a process to sell these assets. We were the successful buyer. We acquired these assets for $112 million in cash. 60 days after closing, they invaded Ukraine. Then it made sense why they were selling. But the Russians spent close to $2 billion in acquiring and developing and investing in these U.S. assets in Wyoming. And now it belongs to UEC with the full staff and team of people. And we've got an incredible team in Wyoming. They're not Russians. They're Americans who have worked in Wyoming for decades. And now they're part of our team, and we're so blessed to have them. But it's so fortunate that we were able to pick up these Wyoming assets coupled with our existing Texas business. Texas and Wyoming 1-2 punch. These are big mining friendly, energy friendly, and business friendly states. I can't think of any better jurisdiction to be in, Rick.
Finally, Amir, with the spot market of uranium up to 57 and the term market, although opaque, substantially higher, it would appear that both your Texas and your Wyoming assets are at least approaching economic viability at current prices. What can we expect in the balance of 2023 in terms of these assets progressing or other things that you're doing on behalf of shareholders?
I think this is the most important question, and in fact, the most exciting reason to be focused and to be learning about UEC. In fact, I really think this is the question to come and talk to us about and to learn more about at our booth, because we have that distinct advantage where we can restart our operations and within 6 months be back into production. And that comes with a re-rating on any company that can go from development stage and into production. And this is proven past production. These assets that we own that we're going to restart production have historically, or in the last, with the prior owners, have produced well over 6 million pounds of uranium already. So this is proven past production that we'll be restarting. The company is trading at a very low multiple of what it should be trading at if it becomes a producer. And we witnessed the same thing in 2010 when we went from being a developer and into a producer. It's a very exciting period, but it's also a very exciting period because the US needs uranium. There's a shortage of domestic uranium, and UEC really has the ability not only to deliver uranium to the market and become a vanguard of uranium supply in the US, but to really deliver significant value to shareholders as this very exciting transition period is upon us. We want to see the spot price stabilize above $60 a pound, Rick, and the way and the speed at which the spot price is moving right now, I'm afraid this interview might even be dated. By the time this interview airs, uranium prices could be well past $60 per pound. And people might be wondering, what were Amir and Rick talking about $57 for?
You will find Albert Liu, who is the producer of this, will have the interview up very quickly. Finally, Amir, where can our listeners, where can the attendees find out more? What's your website, and who and where do they contact a person who will be sort of their internal concierge? What living, breathing, physical human being can people talk to, and where do they find this person?
So first of all, the starting point is www.uraniumenergy.com. Through that website, you'll see our toll-free number that you can contact us with. You've got Bruce Nicholson, who's our VP of Corporate Development and a 30-year veteran of the resource markets and the uranium market and nuclear fuel. And Scott Melby, our Executive VP, who's also the president of our Uranium Producers of America. That's our industry association. And myself. We're a very accessible team. We're principals in the company. I've been at this for 18 years. We have big skin in the game, and we're very accessible to our shareholders. You can also follow me if you're interested in things like Twitter, at Amir Adnani. My first name and last name is my handle on Twitter. I share information on a daily basis about the uranium market, uranium price, nuclear-related events, and even directly you can message me on Twitter. And again, we're very accessible. So uraniumenergy.com and at Amir Adnani, and our Uranium Energy handle on Twitter is at Uranium Energy.
Ladies and gentlemen, note the right answer. The CEO is happy to talk to shareholders and prospective shareholders. Amir, thank you so much for agreeing to the interview. Thank you for many years of sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. And thank you in particular for coming down to this year's conference. We look forward to having a really good time and teaching people a lot about the uranium business.
And Rick, thank you for your many years of support, guidance, both for me, the company, and for our industry, and that wonderful vehicle that you created called the Sprott Physical Uranium Trust. So it's going to be an absolute engine of throwing more gas on the fire as this market really starts to take shape.